Heart beneath the eternal reach of the cerulean skies, where the whispers of ancient winds carried the lost songs of time, lay the realm of Altheria, once a resplendent empire, now fractured and fading. The gods had long abandoned its lands, leaving behind vestiges of their divine power that echoed through the veins of the earth. These echoes, the magical relics of yore, were all that remained of a time when the world was whole. Here, in the shadow of the Bloodstone Mountains, with their iron spires clawing at the heavens, began the quest that would alter the fate of Altheria and its people. The air was thick with an unyielding tension, for the land was pregnant with secrets that could no longer slumber. Taryn, a young knight of the Orden Cavalry, stood alone on the mist-laden shores of Lake Nyra, the ruins of an ancient citadel silhouetted against the dawn. His heart was a tempest of resolve and fear, for a summons from the High Council had brought him here. A relic had been discovered, one that could tilt the balance of power in the ongoing struggle against the oppressive Lurantis Dominion. The very air around him crackled with the latent energy of the forgotten. As he stood, the winds shifted, and a voice, as ancient as the stones themselves, seemed to whisper his name across the water. Taryn's hand instinctively went to his sword, Runeblade, the ancestral weapon of his bloodline, whose runes flickered with an ethereal glow at the presence of magic. The lake shimmered, 1,000 mirrors catching the light of the rising sun, promising revelations and peril in equal measure. Nearby, a group moved from the shadow of the trees, companions summoned by fate's unyielding call. Among them was Lyra, a fierce elven guide with eyes that gleamed like amethysts, her bowstring taut, ever ready. At her side marched Brahm, a brooding giant of a man, whose strength was only matched by the size of his heart, and whose battle-axe sang tales of glory. Completing the ragtag ensemble was an enigmatic figure cloaked in shadows, the mage known only as the Weave. His presence was a tapestry of mysteries, woven with threads of both light and dark. "We must make haste," Lyra urged, her voice slicing through the stillness. "The High Council fears the Dominion has caught wind of the relic's existence. We cannot afford delay." Taryn nodded, glancing once more at the ominous citadel spires before them. "Then let us uncover what the dawn has hidden," he replied, with a voice filled with the weight of destiny. The path to the citadel was treacherous, winding through marshy grounds that clutched at their feet, trying to drag them into the depths. With each step, the sense of foreboding grew, as if the very earth resisted their advance. Shadows danced and flickered in the corners of their vision, accompanied by distant echoes that spoke of battles long past. As they reached the entrance, Brahm let out a low whistle, impressed by the towering gates, worn by centuries yet still standing defiant. "Ain't no fortress like an old one," he remarked, his voice a rumble that resonated through the stones. The Weave paused, his eyes narrowing as he lifted a hand to the air, feeling the tendrils of an unseen barrier. "The wards here are old, older than I imagined," he noted, his voice a soft murmur of awe. "They speak of a time when magic was the heart of the world." Before they could proceed, the ground beneath them trembled, a low rumble that quickly escalated into a cacophony of sound. The earth split asunder, revealing a chasm from which rose a beast born from nightmares, a hydra, its multiple heads writhing, each mouth a cavern of fangs dripping with venom. "By the gods!" Taryn exclaimed, unsheathing Runeblade, its runes flaring to life. "Stand together, we face it as one." The hydra lunged, its head striking with the precision of arrows loosed from a bow. Taryn moved with trained grace, his blade singing as it cleaved through the air to meet the monster's assault. Nearby, Brahm charged with a roar that seemed to shake the heavens themselves, swinging his massive axe in a great arc that forced the beast back. Lyra danced on the battlefield, her arrows seeking the creature's eyes, each shot a masterstroke of precision. The weave, at the heart of the storm, wove spells that crackled with arcane energy, binding and unbinding the very essence of the world around them. Yet for every head they severed, two more took its place. The hydra's regeneration, swift and unyielding. Taryn knew they could not win this battle by strength alone. The heart, he bellowed above the fray. Strike the heart. With newfound resolve, the companions pressed forward, Taryn leading the charge as Runeblade became an extension of his will. They fought their way to the beast's core, where the creature's heart pulsed, a grotesque beacon of life. In a moment, woven by fate and fire, the weave unleashed a spell of binding, holding the beast just long enough for Brahm's mighty axe to cleave through scale and sinew, and for Taryn to drive his blade deep into the heart. The hydra convulsed, its death throes a symphony of destruction that threatened to bring the ruins down upon them. But with the beast's demise, the earth calmed, the echoes of its fury fading into silence. Breathing heavily, the companions gathered themselves, the weight of victory mingling with the realization of what lay ahead. Taryn turned his gaze to the citadel gates, now unguarded. Whatever waits within must not remain hidden, he declared, his voice touched with awe and anticipation. Let us uncover the truth of the relic. As they crossed the threshold, a chill swept through the air, a warning whisper from the past. For within these ancient walls lay not only the relic that could change the world, but secrets long buried, secrets that would test their courage, loyalty, and very souls. Unknown to them, eyes watched from the shadows. Agents of the Lurantis Dominion, their presence a serpent coiled at the heart of darkness, waiting to strike.
The dusk that followed was painted with the hues of twilight's embrace as the companions ventured deeper into the citadel, its corridors a labyrinth of stone and silence. The presence of magic was palpable, a pulse that thrummed through each pillar and archway, a reminder that they walked among the echoes of a lost era. Stay wary, Lyra cautioned, her elven senses attuned to the shifts in the air. These halls remember their past. They do not take kindly to intruders. Taryn nodded, gripping Runeblade tightly. The sword's runes flickered, guiding them through the gloom like a lighthouse in a storm. The weave moved carefully, his eyes casting about for the telltale shimmer of the wards that lay hidden in the shadows. Suddenly, the air was split by a guttural cry, the sound of metal clashing against metal, a battle already begun. They rushed forward, emerging into a vast chamber where soldiers of the Lurantis Dominion clashed with spectral guardians, ancient sentinels left behind to defend the relic. The room was a theater of chaos, where magic and steel intertwined in a deadly dance. The Dominion soldiers wore dark armor, their faces obscured by helms engraved with the sigils of a cursed empire. They moved with ruthless precision, seeking to overwhelm the spectral defenders through sheer force. By the gods, they've reached it first, Brahm growled, his axe already in hand, ready to join the fray. No, Taryn corrected, assessing the scene with a soldier's eye. They've awakened more than they can handle. With a shared glance, the companions threw themselves into the battle, their arrival turning the tide. Taryn fought with the grace of a predator, Runeblade cutting through the Dominion ranks with swift, unerring strikes. Brahm was a force of nature, his axe cleaving with each swing, while Lyra's arrows flew with unerring accuracy, finding their marks amidst the madness. The weave, at the heart of it all, called upon the ancient wards, his magic weaving through the chaos, with the precision of a maestro conducting a celestial symphony. Spells of binding and banishment flowed from his fingers, turning the spectral guardians into allies against the invading soldiers. Together, they fought as one, a tapestry of valor and resolve. Yet, even as the last of the Dominion soldiers fell, the threat was far from over. At the chamber's center rose a dais, its surface illuminated by an ethereal light. Atop it lay the relic, a crown wrought of silver and sapphire, pulsating with the power of ages. The weave approached it with reverence and caution, the air humming with potential. "The Crown of Aeloria," he whispered, awe in his voice, said to hold the wisdom of the ancients. Before he could reach it, the air shimmered with a different kind of magic, a shadowed figure materializing before them, cloaked in the trappings of power and darkness. His eyes burned with malevolence, a testament to his allegiance with the Lurantis Dominion. "Fools," he hissed, his voice a serpent's coil. "You think to claim what belongs to the Dominion?" With a flick of his hand, the chamber was engulfed in shadow, illusory phantoms rising to life, assailing their senses with fear and doubt. Taryn felt the shadows clawing at his mind, dredging up memories of loss and failure, seeking to break his resolve. "Stand strong," Lyra shouted, her voice a beacon through the tempest. "We are stronger than this." The weave countered the darkness with light, his magic a radiant beacon that pierced the illusion, revealing it for the deceit it was. Taryn rallied, his heart a fortress against the encroaching despair, as he charged the shadowed figure. Runeblade blazing with righteous fury, their clash was one of epic proportions, sword against sorcery, as Taryn's determination met the dark mage's sinister prowess. Each strike was a battle of will as much as strength, each movement a dance with destiny. With a final surge of power, Taryn struck true, Runeblade piercing the veil of shadows to find its mark. The dark mage's eyes widened in disbelief before the shadows consumed him, his form unraveling in the light of their victory. The chamber fell silent once more, the echoes of battle fading like whispers in the wind. They approached the Crown of Aeloria, its presence a testament to the trials overcome and the challenges yet to come. "This is only the beginning," Taryn murmured, his eyes on the relic that could change the fate of nations. The weave nodded, his expression somber. "The Dominion will not rest. They will come for us, and for this." As they prepared to leave the citadel, the weight of their quest settled over them like a mantle. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. In the shadows of the chamber, a raven took flight, its eyes watching, waiting, a harbinger of the trials to come. The path back from the citadel was fraught with tension, the companions burdened with the knowledge that their victory had set into motion events far beyond their control. The forests that lined the Bloodstone Mountains whispered secrets of old, their boughs weaving tales of times forgotten. Taryn felt the weight of the Crown of Aeloria resting within their satchel, a constant reminder of both the power and the danger it held. The relic thrummed with the energy of the ancients, a beacon to those who would seek its might for their own. "We must reach Eldin Fort," Lyra advised as they made their way through the dense underbrush. "The High Council needs to know what has transpired." "Agreed," Taryn replied, though his mind was elsewhere, contemplating the shadowed foes they had faced. The Dominion's reach was longer than he had imagined,
and their thirst for power seemingly unquenchable. As night descended, they made camp under the starlit canopy, each member taking their turn to stand watch. Taryn found himself restless, the fire casting flickering shadows that danced like specters upon his thoughts. It was just before dawn when the first tremors reached them. The ground shivered, not with the gentle lull of nature, but with the wrath of something far more sinister. They were on their feet in moments, weapons drawn, senses alert to the encroaching threat. "What madness is this?" Brahm muttered, fingers tight on his axe. From the depths of the forest, a roar split the air, a sound that echoed with the fury of ages. The ground trembled again, more violently, as trees were uprooted, the earth split, and from its maw emerged a creature of legend, a dragon, its scales a mosaic of emerald and fire, wings spanning the sky like the night's own vault. By the light, Lyra gasped as they beheld the beast, its eyes twin suns of fury and intelligence. The dragon descended upon them, a tempest of claws and flame, its roar a symphony of destruction. There was no time for hesitation. They scattered, each finding their battle rhythm amidst the chaos. Taryn moved with the grace of a lion and the ferocity of a storm, Runeblade a blur as he deflected the dragon's attacks, its scales sparking beneath the might of his strikes. Brahm waded in like a bear, each swing of his axe a thunderous retort. Lyra's arrows flew true, seeking the gaps in the dragon's armor, while the weave called upon the elements, wind and flame dancing to his tune. Yet for every blow they landed, the dragon answered with fury anew, its power unrelenting. Taryn's mind raced.
The ferocity of the dragon's assault left the companions on the brink, their strength waning against the unyielding tide of scale and fury. The beast roared, a sound that shattered the sky, and with a mighty beat of its wings, ascended beyond the reach of their blades and spells. Yet even in retreat, it loomed overhead, a shadow of dread cast across the land. Taryn stood amidst the wreckage of their camp, Runeblade buzzing with the residual heat of battle. Each breath came ragged, yet his resolve held firm. "We cannot fight it here," he declared, the words heavy with realization. "We must outthink it, or it will be our doom." Lyra, her face drawn with the strain of conflict, nodded sharply. "There are legends of a place nearby where the earth itself offers shelter," she said, her voice a balm against the encroaching despair. "The Valley of Echoes. Perhaps we can find refuge there." The weave, ever a beacon of wisdom amidst chaos, closed his eyes, recalibrating his senses to the arcane energies that thrummed like currents around them. "A Valley of Echoes, yes," he murmured, the words a mantra of hope. "If legend holds true, we may find more than just sanctuary." As one, the companions gathered their resolve and turned their steps toward the valley, the dragon's presence a constant reminder of their peril. The journey was a test of endurance, their path winding through treacherous terrain, where the land itself seemed to conspire against them. Yet they pressed on, fueled by a shared determination that brooked no failure. The Valley of Echoes greeted them as a bastion of the surreal, its entrance framed by towering cliffs that whispered with the voices of the past. Each footfall was an invocation, the echoes resonating with the stories of all who had traversed its hallowed grounds. Within the valley, the air shimmered with magic unbound, the walls aglow with ancient runes that pulsed in time with the beating of the companions' hearts. Here, the burdens of the world seemed lifted, the dragon's shadow a distant memory. Brahm, ever the stalwart shield-bearer, let out a low whistle. "Well, ain't this a sight? Like stepping into the world's memory." Taryn, feeling the weight of his doubts dissipate, nodded. "A place of power," he agreed, the truth of it settling into his bones. But why does it call to us now? As if in answer, the rune-lit walls flared with a bright coruscating light, and from the depths of the valley emerged a figure, a woman cloaked in garments spun from twilight, her eyes luminous pools of moonlit wisdom. She moved with the grace of flowing water, her presence commanding and serene. "I am Serelith," she intoned, her voice a melody woven from starshine and shadow. "Keeper of the valley, guardian of its secrets, you carry with you the Crown of Aeloria, and with it the fate of our world." The companions exchanged glances, the weight of destiny settling heavily upon them once more. "What must we do?" Taryn asked, his voice a thread of resolve stretching across the silence. Serelith regarded them with a gaze that seemed to pierce through flesh and soul. "Beware the path you tread, for the crown is both boon and bane," she warned, her words laced with foreboding. "The dragon is but the first of many trials. To wield the crown's power, you must awaken the slumbering echoes of the ancients." As if a veil lifted, the valley revealed its true nature, hidden groves and paths spiraling like a celestial map, leading toward a singular point in the distance where the echoes harmonized into a crescendo. "There lies the heart of the valley," continued Serelith, her words a guide through the labyrinthine terrain. "At its center, you shall find the means to harness the crown's power, but only if you are prepared to confront the truth within." The companions understood the gravity of the task before them, each drawing strength from the unity they shared. With Serelith as their guide, they ventured deeper into the valley, the echoes around them swelling with each step. A symphony of the past, blended with the hopes of tomorrow. Their path was fraught with challenges, the valley itself testing their resolve with illusions and trials of the heart. They faced specters of doubt, shadows of their own fears brought to life by the valley's magic. Yet, with each trial, they emerged stronger, bound by the ties of trust and friendship that wove them together as one. In time, they reached the heart of the valley, a clearing where the echoes converged in a tempest of sound and light. At its center stood an ancient altar, carved from the very bones of the earth, its surface aglow with the runes of creation. As they approached, the Crown of Aeloria seemed to hum in recognition, its energy resonating with the altar's ancient power. Taryn stepped forward, the weight of his lineage pressing upon him as he placed the crown upon the altar. In that moment, the valley erupted into a symphony of light and sound, the echoes of the ancients merging with the present in a cascade of magic. The companions stood at the heart of creation itself, the boundaries of time dissolving, revealing visions of past and future entwined. Taryn's heart pounded in time with the echoes, and for a breathless moment, he saw beyond the veil of the present, a world reborn, cleansed of the Dominion's shadow, bathed in the light of unity and peace. Yet within the vision lay a serpent of doubt, its fangs poised to strike, casting a shadow of betrayal that threatened all they held dear. As the echoes faded, Taryn knew their path was set, yet fraught with peril. The dragon awaited, but so too did the serpent, its presence a mystery yet to be unraveled. With the valley's blessing upon them, they emerged from the sanctuary of echoes, the Crown of Aeloria now more than a relic. It was a key to a new dawn, if only they could unlock its potential. But time was against them, and as they stepped into the world beyond, the winds carried a scent of danger, a reminder that the Dominion's reach was long, and their journey far from over. A storm of destiny brewed on the horizon, and with it, the fate of Altheria,
ready to be rewritten anew.
Part. As the companions left the Valley of Echoes behind, the air around them crackled with a newfound energy, the Crown of Aeloria, now a beacon that resonated with the heartbeat of the world. Yet even as its power thrummed with promise, the specter of danger loomed ever closer. They pressed onward, their path leading towards Fort, the seat of resistance against the Lurantis Dominion. The journey was one of haste, for the shadow of the dragon was not far behind, its presence a harbinger of the Dominion's relentless pursuit. The land shifted beneath their feet, the landscape a tapestry of rugged cliffs and verdant valleys, where the remnants of the old empire lay scattered, overgrown with the passage of time. Here, amidst the ruins, they encountered allies, gatherings of free folk who had taken up arms against the encroaching darkness. Among these allies was a troop of rangers, their leader a wiry figure named Eric, whose sharp eyes and sharper wit made him indispensable. "Word travels fast," he greeted them, nodding toward the crown that seemed to glow despite the encroaching night. "The world watches, waits. What's your plan?" "Our path is set," Taryn replied, his voice carrying the weight of leadership. "We must reach Fort, rally the remaining resistance. The crown is our hope, but it's a hope we can't carry alone." Eric considered the knight's words, his expression one of measured calculation. "The Dominion grows impatient. Their forces rally near the cursed glade, seeking to cut us off from the fort. You'll not reach it on foot alone." "We need speed and stealth," Lyra added, her gaze shifting to the forest's edge, where shadows lingered like secrets waiting to be told. A smile blossomed on Eric's lips, his demeanor alight with mischief. "I know a way through the glade, paths hidden from the eyes of most. Follow me, and we might just slip through their grasp." With Eric as their guide, the companions moved under the cover of night, weaving through the forest like whispers on the wind. Their passage was swift and silent, the rangers adept at navigating the tangled underbrush, knowing each hidden trail and secret nook. Yet as they neared the heart of the cursed glade, a chill settled over them, a palpable sense of unease that clung like morning mist. The very air was thick with a foreboding. The trees twisted and gnarled, their branches reaching like skeletal hands. "Stay sharp," Eric warned, his voice barely above a whisper. "The glade holds more than just shadows." As if on cue, the shadows themselves stirred, the darkness coalescing into forms both monstrous and spectral. Creatures of nightmare, born of the Dominion's twisted magic, emerged to block their path, a barricade of fear and malice. The companions readied themselves, the confrontation imminent. Taryn held Runeblade aloft, its runes glowing fiercely in the gloom. Beside him Brahm wielded his axe with a deathly calm, while Lyra notched an arrow, her aim steady and true. The weave, ever the master of the arcane, began to summon the energies that danced in the air. The battle erupted with a ferocity that took even the shadows by surprise. Taryn and Brahm formed the vanguard, their combined strength a bulwark against the onslaught. The darkness writhed and snapped, the air filled with the sound of steel and the cries of the damned. Lyra moved with the fluidity of a dancer, her arrows weaving paths of light through the blackness, each strike a testament to her skill. The weave's magic cascaded in bursts of brilliance, tearing through the shadows with a vengeance. In the chaos, Eric and his rangers harried the flanks, their blades quick and lethal, turning the tide with tactics born of necessity and desperation. The shadows fought with a relentless hunger, yet the companions held their ground, their unity a shield against despair. But Just when victory seemed within reach, a new threat emerged, a serpent, vast and coiling, its scales glinting like polished obsidian, eyes burning with a malevolent intelligence. It was a creature of singular purpose, a manifestation of the vision seen in the Valley of Echoes, a serpent of betrayal, poised to strike at the heart of their resolve. The companions faced this new adversary with the grim determination of those who know the stakes of their struggle. The serpent's movements were a dance of death, each shift a prelude to disaster. Taryn found himself the focus of its ire, the serpent's gaze piercing into his soul. In that moment, he understood. This was more than a beast. It was an embodiment of the Dominion's will, an avatar of the darkness they sought to dispel. The battle against the serpent was one of attrition and cunning. It moved with a sinuous grace, its strikes calculated, each feint a test of their resilience. Runeblade met scale in a shower of sparks, and the air crackled with the energy of battle. Yet, as Taryn fought, he remembered the lesson of the valley, the need to look beyond what was seen, to find the truth within. In a breathless moment of clarity, he called upon the crown, its power resonating with his own, seeking the echo of the serpent's intent. Guided by this newfound insight, he saw the flaw in the serpent's dance, a vulnerability hidden beneath its obsidian armor. With a cry of defiance, Taryn struck with precision, runeblade piercing the serpent's heart. The effect was immediate. The serpent convulsed, its form unraveling in a cascade of shadow and light, its power undone by the very truth it sought to obscure. With the serpent's demise, the battle turned, the remaining shadows dispatched with ease. The path to Eldenfort lay open once more, and with it, the promise of a new dawn. The companions emerged from the glade, their spirits buoyed by victory tempered with the knowledge of trials yet to come. The serpent had been vanquished, but the Dominion's ambitions still cast a long shadow. Their journey continued, the road to Eldenfort winding through the tapestry of fate. But with each step, Taryn felt the crown's weight lessen, its purpose drawing ever closer. And as they traveled, the wind carried a song of hope, a melody of echoes reborn, sung by the land itself, heralding the dawn of a new age. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the companions beheld Eldenfort, perched majestically upon the craggy shoulders of Mount Callan. The fortress was a bastion of defiance, its walls old as the earth, yet vibrant with the spirit of those who called it home. Banners of the resistance flapped defiantly in the morning breeze, the colors bold against the backdrop of a turbulent sky. But as they approached, the smoke of pyres marred the skyline, a grim testament to recent battles. The Dominion siege had tightened around Eldenfort, its shadow encircling the stronghold with the relentless menace of a coiled dragon. The gates creaked open to admit them, and they entered the fortress to the sight of weary soldiers and grim-faced leaders. Among them stood Lord Arendor, the commander of the resistance, his presence a beacon of resolve. His eyes, though lined with fatigue, shone with the fire of undiminished hope. Taryn, Lyra, Braum, the Weave. Arendor greeted them, his voice resonant with relief and anticipation. You have returned, and not a moment too soon. The Dominion presses hard, and our defenses grow weary. Taryn stepped forward, his bearing that of a knight buoyed by purpose. We bring the Crown of Aeloria, he announced, drawing the relic from its protective satchel. It holds the key to turning the tide. Arendor's eyes widened as he beheld the crown,
its aura of power unmistakable.
"Then there is still hope," he declared, his voice a rallying cry. "We must make ready for the final stand." The companions, reunited with their allies, took to the walls, gazing out over the assembled forces of the Dominion. The enemy lay in wait, their numbers vast, a sea of dark banners and gleaming armor. Among their ranks, Taryn spotted figures cloaked in shadow, the mages of the Dominion, weaving spells to shroud their advance in darkness. The air was thick with tension, the fortress a cauldron of anticipation. As the sun climbed higher, the Dominion launched their assault, war cries echoing like thunder across the valley. The siege was a tempest of steel and sorcery, thrust and parry, as the defenders met the onslaught with a resolve forged in the fires of desperation. The walls of Eldenfort shuddered beneath the impact of trebuchets, their stones groaning with the strain. Taryn fought at the forefront, Runeblade, a beacon of light amidst the chaos. With each swing, he carved a path through the enemy, his every movement a testament to the oath that bound him to this cause. Lyra lent her arrows to the skies, raining down a storm of precision, while Brahm held the line with unyielding strength. The weave stood at the heart of the defense, his magic weaving a tapestry of protection that shielded the fortress from the Dominion's dark sorcery. His hands moved with dexterity and purpose, calling upon the ancient wards that lay dormant within the very stones of Eldenfort. Despite their valor, the Dominion pressed onward, their forces an unstoppable tide. As the day wore on, hope frayed at the edges, even as Taryn felt the crown pulse with untapped potential. Then, with a clarity born of desperation, Taryn realized the truth. The Crown of Aeloria was not merely a relic of power. It was a conduit, a vessel meant to channel the collective will of those who dared to hope. "Join your strength to mine," Taryn called, his voice rising above the tumult. The defenders, driven by his conviction, lent their courage to the crown, their hearts and souls uniting in a web of light. The crown responded, its power igniting with a force that surged through Taryn, setting his sword ablaze with the light of 1,000 stars. The air thrummed with resonance, the very stones of Eldenfort vibrating in harmony with the crescendo. With a cry that shook the heavens, Taryn unleashed the crown's power, the light cascading outward in a wave that swept across the battlefield. The Dominion forces faltered, their shadows dissolving in the brilliance of unity. Amidst the chaos, the dark mages wavered, their spells unraveling under the weight of the crown's light. The Dominion's advance halted, their lines fracturing as panic took hold. Seizing the moment, Arendor rallied the defenders for a counterattack. With renewed vigor, they surged forward, driving the Dominion back from the walls, reclaiming the ground with every step. The tide of battle turned, and with it, the destiny of Eldenfort. The defenders pushed the Dominion forces back, breaking their siege with a final, furious charge that scattered their ranks to the winds. As the last echoes of battle faded, the companions stood triumphant upon the walls, the Crown of Aeloria a testament to their victory. Eldenfort was secure, and with it, the hope of a world reborn. But even as the sun set upon their victory, Taryn knew their journey was far from over. The Dominion's shadow still loomed, and the serpent of betrayal had yet to reveal its fangs. The companions gathered their strength for the trials yet to come, their bond tempered by fire and forged anew. For in the heart of each burned the knowledge that their greatest challenge lay ahead, a challenge that would demand all they had to give, and more. In the aftermath of the siege, as Eldenfort began to rebuild, Taryn and his companions were summoned to the war room, where maps and plans lay strewn across a massive wooden table. The air was thick with the scent of ink and sweat, and the atmosphere buzzed with the murmured conversations of leaders and strategists. Lord Arendor, flanked by emissaries from neighboring realms, stood at the head of the table. His eyes were alight with a mixture of relief and determination, the weight of leadership borne with the grace of a seasoned warrior. The Dominion has suffered a setback, but they will return with renewed ferocity, Arendor stated, his voice unwavering. We must take the fight to them, strike before they can regroup. The companions listened intently, the gravity of the moment sinking in. The Dominion might have been repelled, but their power and reach remained a formidable threat. The fate of Altheria rested on the decisions they would make in the days to come. We have two paths before us, Arendor continued, his gaze meeting each of theirs in turn. To the north lie the Frostfang Mountains, where an ancient ally slumbers. If awakened, they could be a boon to our cause. To the east, the Dominion's stronghold stands within the shadowed swamps of Morcal Fen, where striking could cripple their operations. Taryn felt the weight of choice settle upon him, the burden of leadership entwined with the whispers of the crown. Both paths hold peril, he mused, his thoughts a storm of possibilities, but also promise. What do you counsel? The Weave, ever the voice of reason, pondered the choices. The Frostfangs hold mysteries, both arcane and profound. The ancients there could tip the scales in our favor, but their aid is not without cost. Lyra, her eyes sharp with insight, nodded. The swamp, though treacherous, is where the Dominion's heart beats strongest. A blow there could stifle their breath. Brahm, ever the stalwart bulwark, grunted his agreement. Reckon we aim for their throat, see how they like the taste of their own medicine. The decision weighed heavily on Taryn. Each path was fraught with risk, with no guarantee of success. But as he stood amidst his companions, he felt the pull of destiny, the Crown of Aeloria humming with anticipation. Then we must divide our strength, Taryn decided, the words leaving his lips with the certainty of a blade's edge. Lyra and Brahm, you will journey to the Frostfangs and seek the aid of the ancient ally. The Weave and I will lead a strike on Morcal Fen. The echoes of his decision hung in the air, the gravity of their mission resonating through each of them. Yet, as they prepared to embark on their separate paths, Taryn felt a tremor in the arcane currents, a dark presence, familiar yet unseen, watching from the shadows. With their course set, they made their preparations. The fortress buzzed with activity, as supplies were gathered and farewells exchanged. But beneath the surface lay a simmering tension, an unspoken understanding that the road ahead was fraught with danger. As the companions parted, Taryn clasped hands with Lyra and Brahm, their eyes meeting in silent promise. May the winds guide you, he offered, his voice a thread of hope woven into the tapestry of fate. And you, Lyra replied, her eyes soft with the promise of return. We'll see you at the dawn of victory. The dawn that followed was painted in hues of determination, the companions setting their course toward their respective destinies. As Taryn and the Weave led their forces eastward, the air grew thick with the scent of the swamp, a fetid reminder of the Dominion's influence and the trials that lay ahead. Their march was swift,
the landscape shifting from rugged hills to murky wetlands, where the mists curled like the breath of sleeping giants. The swamps of Morcal Fen were a labyrinth of shadow and silence, the very air alive with the whispers of unseen presences. A weave moved with purpose, his senses attuned to the subtle threads of magic that permeated the swamp. The Dominion's presence here is strong, he observed, his voice a soft current against the murmur of the waters. We must tread lightly. As they delved deeper into the fen, Taryn felt the tension coil within him, a serpent poised to strike. Yet beneath the surface, the Crown of Aeloria pulsed with a steady rhythm, its power a beacon against the encroaching dark. The swamp was a place of illusions, where the path forward twisted and turned in a maze of deception. Shadows shifted at the edge of their vision, and the air itself seemed to conspire against them. But Taryn and the weave led with the surety of purpose, guiding their troops through the mists with the aid of the crown's light. The men and women who followed them did so with courage and faith, their resolve unbroken by the Dominion's attempts to mislead. As they neared the heart of the swamp, Taryn felt a chill crawl across his skin, the air thickening with a presence both ancient and malign. "We are close," he murmured, Runeblade whispering in harmony with the crown. "Ready yourselves." The final confrontation loomed ahead, the echoes of fate converging upon the shadowed waters of Morcal Fen. It was here that destiny awaited, the serpent of betrayal ready to uncoil and reveal its true form. And as the mists parted, Taryn knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, united in purpose, bound by the light of hope, and driven by the promise of a world reborn. The heart of Morcal Fen loomed before them, a realm where shadows clung to the earth like a shroud. The landscape was a twisted reflection of despair, where gnarled trees reached skyward with crooked fingers, and the air was thick with a miasma of decay and dark magic. Taryn and the weave led their forces with cautious resolve, each step a testament to their commitment. As they approached the core of the Dominion's stronghold, the swamp seemed to tighten its grip, the path forward obscured by illusion and nightmare. The weave paused, his senses alert to the arcane currents that flowed through the fen. "The Dominion's magic is strong here," he observed, his voice a calm ripple in the murky air. "But there is something else, a presence, watching us." Taryn felt it too, a prickling at the back of his mind, a whisper of treachery carried on the wind. "We must be vigilant," he cautioned, his hand resting on Runeblade. The sword's runes aglow with anticipation. As they pressed onwards, the swamp's illusions grew bolder, shadows twisting into forms both grotesque and familiar. Faces of fallen comrades appeared in the mist, their eyes hollow with accusation and sorrow. But the companions held firm, their resolve unyielding against the tide of deception. It was then that the ground beneath them shifted, a subtle undulation that belied the swamp's hidden depths. From the murk emerged spectral figures, their forms composed of shadow and flame, driven by the Dominion's will. The assault was sudden, a cacophony of fear and fury, as the spectral warriors lunged with the fervor of the damned. Taryn met their charge, Runeblade slicing through the dark with a radiance that cut through illusion and flesh alike. The weave stood beside him, his magic a shield of light and force, repelling the spirits with a mastery born of necessity. Their combined strength turned the tide,
the spectral onslaught faltering beneath their counterattack. Yet even as the last of the phantoms dissolved into mist, a new threat emerged, a dark figure cloaked in robes that seemed woven from the night itself. His presence was a void, a palpable emptiness that drew the light from the air. "Welcome, interlopers," the figure intoned, his voice a rasp of iron against stone. "You tread upon sacred ground." The heart of the Dominion's power. Taryn regarded the figure with a mixture of caution and defiance. "We seek to end the Dominion's tyranny and reclaim the light for those who live in its shadow." The figure's laughter was a haunting melody, echoing through the fen. "You speak of light, yet you bring only ruin and chaos. The Dominion is the rightful heir to this world's power." The weave stepped forward, his eyes narrowing with recognition. "A shadowmancer," he declared, his voice laced with distaste, "twisting the threads of magic for your own dark designs." The shadowmancer inclined his head, his eyes gleaming with a malevolent intelligence. "And what are you, weave, but a meddler in the affairs of powers beyond your ken?" The confrontation crackled with tension, the air alive with a potential that bordered on cataclysm. Taryn knew that their enemy was formidable, his mastery of shadow a dire threat, but the Crown of Aeloria pulsed with a steady rhythm, a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. As the standoff stretched into eternity, the Shadowmancer struck with blinding speed, the shadows wrapping around him like a cloak, as he launched tendrils of dark energy toward the companions. Taryn and the weave reacted instinctively, moving in unison to counter the attack. Runeblade met shadow, each clash a burst of light and darkness. The weave summoned barriers of arcane force, deflecting the malevolent magic with precision. The battle was a dance of power and intent, each participant a player on the stage of fate. But the Shadowmancer's strength lay in his cunning. With a gesture, he conjured a veil of darkness that swallowed the fen, choking the light and separating ally from ally. Taryn found himself alone in the void, the shadows pressing close, the serpent of betrayal uncoiling in his mind. Visions of doubt assailed him, images of failure, of friends fallen and hopes dashed. But the Crown of Aeloria shimmered with a radiant defiance, its light pushing back against the darkness with a force that resonated through Taryn's very soul. With a surge of will, he shattered the veil with a cry that echoed with the strength of all who had come before, and all who would follow. The darkness shattered like glass, revealing the Shadowmancer's form, his expression one of disbelief and rage. In that moment of vulnerability, Taryn and the weave struck as one, light and magic converging upon shadow. The Shadowmancer fell, his form dissolving into the mist with a wail that reverberated through the fen with his defeat. The swamp's grip slackened, the air clearing as the Dominion's influence waned. Yet even in victory, Taryn felt the weight of betrayal's shadow linger, a reminder that the Dominion's serpent was yet to fully reveal its fangs. As the mists parted, the path to the Dominion's stronghold lay open, the final confrontation beckoning with the promise of both peril and redemption. Together, Taryn and the weave led their forces toward the heart of the Dominion's power. The echoes of their footsteps, a drumbeat of defiance. The battle for Altheria was not yet won, but with every step they took, the light grew stronger, the shadows retreating before the dawn. With the Shadowmancer defeated, Taryn and the Weave pressed deeper into the swamp, their steps guided by the faint light of the Crown of Aeloria. The swamp's oppressive darkness gave way to a grim anticipation as they approached the Dominion's stronghold, a fortress of stone and shadow nestled like a viper amidst the mire. The stronghold was a bastion of dread, its walls etched with runes of confinement and power. Towers loomed, their spires clawing at the storm-laden skies as if to draw down the wrath of forgotten gods. The air crackled with latent energy, the very atmosphere heavy with the weight of 1,000 tormented souls. Taryn tightened his grip on Runeblade, the weapon's runes flickering with a potent light. The heart of the Dominion lies within these walls, he stated, the words of vow etched in iron. The Weave nodded, his expression stern, yet hopeful. This place is a nexus of their power. If we can dismantle it, their grip on the lands will falter. As they approached the gates, a chill wind swept through the swamp, carrying with it the sense of earth and decay. The stronghold was silent, a predator poised in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They moved with caution, their forces spreading out to encircle the fortress, ensuring no escape for the Dominion's minions. As the gates loomed closer, Taryn felt the familiar prickle of unseen eyes upon them, a foreboding herald of deceit. The gates burst open with a thunderous crash, revealing a host of Dominion soldiers, their armor as dark and jagged as the fortress itself. Their helms obscured their faces, but the malice in their stance spoke volumes. Behind them stood figures cloaked in robes of deepest shadow, the Dominion's remaining mages, their power a palpable chill in the air. The battle began with a roar, the clash of steel and magic shaking the very foundations of the swamp. Taryn threw himself into the fray, Runeblade a beacon of defiance, its light carving a path through the enemy ranks. The Weave wove spells of protection and destruction, each incantation a ripple of force that turned the tide in their favor. But the Dominion fought with a savagery born of desperation, their soldiers bolstered by the dark magic that flowed through the fortress like tainted blood. The air was thick with the acrid tang of sorcery, the ground stained with the efforts of both light and dark. Amidst the chaos, Taryn caught sight of a figure standing atop the fortress walls, a woman clad in armor that shimmered like a night sky drenched in stars, her presence commanding and regal. Her eyes met his, and he felt the weight of her gaze, a serpent of silver and shadow, poised to strike. "You dare to challenge the Dominion," she called, her voice carrying across the battlefield like the knell of a bell. "You think yourselves heroes, but you are nothing against the tide of history." Taryn met her gaze unflinchingly, the Crown of Aeloria pulsing with a power that resonated through his soul. "We are the light that will pierce your darkness," he declared, the words a promise forged in the fires of hope. "Altheria will be free." The woman's laughter was a melody of scorn, a song of derision that cut through the din. "You know nothing of freedom," she replied, her voice dripping with disdain. "The Dominion is the future, and you are but the fleeting shadows of a dying past." The battle surged around them, the tide of conflict turning as reinforcements from Eldenfort arrived, their arrival a crescendo of valor and determination. Taryn's heart swelled with renewed hope, the presence of allies bolstering their efforts. The defenders of Altheria fought with a vengeance, their unity a bulwark against the Dominion's might. Arrows flew, Spells crackled and blades sang as the two forces clashed in a brutal ballet of war. Yet, even as victory seemed within reach, the serpent struck. A betrayal etched in time, revealed as a figure broke ranks, turning blade against ally. The traitor moved with the precision of a knife in the dark, their blade seeking the heart of the resistance. Taryn's world slowed, the realization crashing over him like a tide of ice. The serpent was within, its fangs hidden beneath the guise of trust, striking at the very heart of their efforts. With a roar that shook the heavens, he charged toward the traitor, runeblade a comet of light and fury. The battlefield became a blur, allies and enemies parting before him as he closed the distance. The ensuing clash was a tempest of steel and emotion, a battle that transcended mere physicality. Taryn fought with the desperation of one who knows the stakes, each strike the plea for redemption, each parry a promise of justice. In that moment, the Crown of Aeloria sang with the voices of the ancients, their light a beacon that cast aside the shadows of doubt. Taryn struck with the strength of 1,000 hopes, runeblade finding its mark. The traitor fell, their treachery extinguished in the brilliance of the crown's light. The Dominion's forces wavered, their cohesion shattered by the loss of their hidden serpent. With the serpent's demise, victory became a certainty, the defenders of Altheria striking with renewed fervor. The Dominion's stronghold fell before them, the shadows retreating in the face of the dawn. Amidst the ruins, Taryn stood victorious, the Crown of Aeloria a testament to their triumph. But even in victory, the echoes of betrayal lingered, a reminder of the cost of freedom. As the sun rose over the swamp, casting the land in hues of gold and promise, Taryn knew their journey was not yet over. The Dominion's shadow had been lifted, but the world was still healing, the scars of conflict slow to fade. Yet in this new dawn, hope flourished, a seed planted in the fertile soil of sacrifice, nurtured by the light of unity and the promise of a brighter future. Together, they would face the challenges yet to come, their bond unbroken by the trials of fate, their resolve strengthened by the fires of battle. For in the heart of darkness, they had found the courage to stand as one, and in that unity, they had forged a new beginning, a tale of light and shadow etched in the annals of history. Part. The sun's golden fingers spread across the land, casting a warm glow over the liberated stronghold. The swamp, once a place of shadows and despair, now resonated with the promise of rebirth. Taryn stood upon the battlements, his heart filled with a mixture of relief and somber reflection. The Crown of Aeloria sat in his hands, its glow soft, like the first light of dawn. The weave joined him, his robes singed, yet his spirit unbroken. The Dominion is not just a force to be defeated in battle, he mused, eyes scanning the horizon. It's a poison, seeping into the hearts and minds of the people. Even in victory, our work is not done. Taryn nodded, understanding the depth of the mage's words. The land's scars ran deep, both seen and unseen. The Dominion's influence had twisted the minds of many, and healing would take time and patience. The companions gathered below, where the remains of the battle littered the ground. The ragged cheers of their allies mingled with the cries of the wounded, a symphony of victory tinged with loss. Among them, Lyra and Brahm emerged from the throng, their return from the Frostfang Mountains, a beacon of hope renewed. "Did the ancients aid you?" Taryn asked, his voice carrying across the courtyard with a note of anticipation. Lyra's eyes sparkled with the wisdom of the mountains, her presence a balm to their weary souls. "The legends were true," she replied, a small triumphant smile playing at her lips. The ancient ally awakens. They will come when the land calls. Brahm, stalwart and steady, nodded his agreement. Their power is vast, like a storm rolling in from the sea. They'll stand with us if the Dominion rises again. Their words were heartening, a reminder that Altheria was not alone in its struggle. The alliances forged through blood and fire would stand strong, binding them in a network of light to counter the darkness that had threatened to consume them. As the command tent was erected amid the ruins, the leaders of the resistance gathered to discuss the future of their land. Lord Arendor, his armor a testament to the fortitude and resilience of his people, addressed the assembled. We have struck a mighty blow against the Dominion, but their remnants linger. We must begin the task of renewal. The Crown of Aeloria was placed upon a table, its presence a silent witness to the dialogue that unfolded. Maps were spread, plans discussed, each voice contributing to the symphony of rebuilding. Yet even as hope bloomed, Taryn felt a lingering uncertainty, a shadow of a future not yet secured. The revelations from the Valley of Echoes had shown him a serpent of betrayal, its influence deft and insidious. To that end, a council turned to the mysteries still unsolved, the secrets that lay hidden within the realms of power. We must delve into the echoes, the weave suggested, his voice a harmonious chord woven into the tapestry of their plans. There are truths hidden in the past that may guide us forward. And so it was decided. A delegation would journey to the sacred sites of Altheria, places where the echoes of the ancients resonated strongest, to uncover truths that could light their path. Taryn, Lyra, and the Weave would accompany a small retinue, leaving Brahm and Lord Arendor to lead the consolidation of their hard-won gains. The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation and farewells, the weight of leadership tempered by the bonds of friendship. As Taryn stood at the edge of the encampment, ready to depart, he felt the mists of destiny swirling around him, the crown's light a pulse in time with his heart. Their journey led them through lands once familiar, now changed by the passage of war. Villages were rebuilt, their inhabitants resilient in the face of adversity, rising from the ashes of conflict with renewed hope.
Everywhere they went, they saw the fingerprints of renewal, the first buds of spring pushing through the frost, the laughter of children chasing the shadows away. Yet as they moved deeper into the heart of Altheria, the land's history revealed itself in whispers and songs carried on the wind. The sacred sites were places of convergence, where the past met the present in a dance of light and shadow. At each site, the Weave performed rituals of awakening, drawing upon the ancient energies that slumbered within the stones and earth. They listened as the echoes spoke, their voices a choir of wisdom and warning. In the ruins of Eldenfale, they uncovered tablets etched with prophecy, their lines cryptic and beguiling. Beware the serpent's tongue, for its words are deceit wrapped in truth. Lyra read aloud, her eyes narrowing in contemplation. At each turn, we must remain vigilant, Taryn said, his resolve hardening like steel tempered in the forge. The Dominion's influence may be wounded, but it is not vanquished. Their path led them next to the Enclave of the Lost, where a great library housed the collective knowledge of generations past. The echoes here were a cacophony of knowledge, their wisdom woven into the very fabric of the walls. It was within these hallowed halls that the Weave uncovered an ancient tome, its pages bound in leather, worn by the sands of time. Carefully he opened it,
his eyes lighting upon a passage written in the arcane script. "The serpent that slumbers entwined," he murmured, tracing his fingers across the text. "A weapon forged in darkness, wielded by a hand unseen." Lyra leaned closer, her brow furrowing, as she translated the cryptic lines. The Dominion's strength lies not just in its armies, but in the betrayals it sows. Taryn's mind raced, the pieces of a puzzle long hidden beginning to align. "We must find this weapon," he concluded, his voice firm with conviction. "Uncover its secret before it can be used against us." Their quest for knowledge revealed more than they had anticipated. Each discovery a step closer to understanding the true breadth of the Dominion's insidious reach. The road ahead was fraught with danger, yet illuminated by the light of companionship and shared purpose. As they prepared to leave the Enclave, Taryn felt a renewed sense of determination. The path was set, the future theirs to forge from the echoes of the past. The journey continued, the companions unwavering in their pursuit of the truth. The Crown of Aeloria, a constant reminder of the light they carried within. For in the heart of a world reborn, they would find the strength to face whatever shadows lay ahead, united by the promise of a dawn that would not be denied. The path through Altheria wove onward, a tapestry of revelation and renewal. Each step a thread binding the companions closer to the destiny that awaited them. The journey bore them to the whispering plains, where the wind carried secrets on its breath, a susurrus of voices from times long past. Here, the landscape was an ocean of golden grasses, swaying gently beneath an azure sky. Yet beneath its tranquil guise, the plains held mysteries, places where the earth's bones were laid bare, where stones etched with forgotten runes stood as sentinels of memory. The air was alive with expectation, as Taryn, Lyra, and the Weave reached their destination. A circle of ancient monoliths, their surfaces luminous with the glow of twilight. The stones hummed with energy, each a vessel of the echoes that transcended time. They stepped into the circle, the earth beneath their feet, vibrating with the resonance of history. The Weave knelt, his fingers brushing the cold, hard surface of the nearest stone. "This is a place where the veil between worlds is thin," he murmured, his voice a quiet invocation. "Here we may find what we seek." As the sun dipped below the horizon, stars began to kindle in the darkening sky, their light a tapestry of constellations that mirrored the stone's arrangement. The companions gathered around the center, where the earth was marked with sigils that seemed to twist and dance in the moonlight. "Let us call upon the echoes," Taryn said, runeblade in hand, the sword's runes glowing softly in harmony with the stones. "May they reveal what has been hidden." The Weave nodded, his hands weaving spells of awakening, a symphony of magic that set the stones aglow with a myriad of colors. Lyra closed her eyes, attuning her senses to the hum of energy that pulsed through the air. The ground trembled as the echoes responded, the voices of the ancients rising in a chorus that filled the night. Images flickered within the circle's heart, a vision of a world untouched by time, where a serpent coiled around a great tree, its scales shimmering like liquid night. "The serpent is both guardian and prisoner," the Weave interpreted, his voice resonating with the weight of prophecy. "It holds a power that can reshape the world, yet it is bound by the very legacy it protects." Taryn's heart quickened, realizing the gravity of the revelation. A weapon forged in darkness. Is it the power of the serpent that the Dominion seeks? Lyra's eyes snapped open, her expression one of clarity and resolve. Then we must find this tree, this guardian of power, before the Dominion can unleash its potential. The vision shifted once more, revealing a path through a forest of towering oaks, their leaves whispering secrets as old as the world itself. The road led beyond, to a land where the earth itself shimmered with magic, a place known only in legend. The Heartwood, Lyra breathed, recognizing the tales of her people. A realm where the old magics linger, untouched by time. With the echo's guidance, the path was clear. The Heartwood awaited, a place of myth and mystery where the destiny of Altheria hung in the balance. The companions exchanged glances, their resolve solidified by the weight of their mission. They left the circle with newfound purpose, the stone's songs echoing in their hearts as they journeyed onward into the night. Their path led them across the whispering plains, the grasses whispering farewell as they passed. The way was fraught with danger, their enemies lurking ever nearer. Their journey a race against the encroaching shadow. As dawn broke, they reached the edge of the Heartwood, the forest's great oaks standing sentinel at its borders. The air was thick with enchantment, the very ground alive with a magic as old as the stars. The weave paused at the threshold, his eyes scanning the depths of the forest. The way forward is obscured, he noted, his senses attuned to the shifting energies. But within lies the key to the serpent's legacy. Taryn stepped forward, the crown of Aeloria pulsing with a soft glow. Then let us uncover the truth and put an end to the Dominion's designs. The companions ventured into the Heartwood, the forest closing around them like a cloak of emerald and shadow. Their journey took them through paths overgrown with ferns, where the light filtered through the canopy in a kaleidoscope of greens and golds. Within the depths of the Heartwood lay secrets that defied comprehension, each step drawing them closer to the serpent's domain. There were challenges and trials, each a test of their unity and resolve, each a whisper of the ancient magics that wove the world. It was at twilight that they reached the heart of the forest, where the great tree stood, a titan of life and memory, its roots entwined with the earth's very essence. The serpent coiled around its trunk, its eyes gleaming with an intelligence both ancient and profound. Taryn felt the power radiating from the tree, a symphony of light and shadow that resonated with the crown's own energy. He approached with reverence, the weight of destiny resting upon his shoulders. The serpent's legacy is one of balance, the weave intoned, his voice a thread of magic woven into the stillness. To wield this power, we must honor the harmony that binds the world. As they stood before the great tree, the serpent regarded them with an inscrutable gaze. Its presence was a force of nature, an embodiment of the magic that flowed through Altheria's veins. With a deep breath, Taryn extended the crown of Aeloria, its light mingling with the serpent's, creating a tapestry of luminescence that enveloped the forest. In that moment, the serpent spoke, its voice a resonance that echoed through their very souls. To unlock the power within, you must first understand the true nature of what you seek. And so the companions listened, their hearts open to the wisdom that flowed from the serpent's legacy, a lesson of balance and unity, of the light and shadow that wove the world together. It was a revelation that transcended words, a truth that bound them to the very fabric of creation. As they absorbed the serpent's teachings, they felt the power within the Crown of Aeloria shift and settle, its potential finally realized. The path forward was clear, illuminated by the light of understanding. Together, they would forge a future where the shadows of the past gave way to the dawn of a new age. For in the heart of the hardwood, they had found the strength to stand as one, united by the legacy of the serpent and the promise of a world reborn. End. Part beneath the emerald canopy of the heartwood, where the whispers of the serpent entwined with the winds, Taryn and his companions emerged from their communion with newfound clarity and purpose. The great tree and its guardian serpent had imparted not only wisdom, but the essential truth that strength lay not in dominance, but in balance and unity. The forest seemed to acknowledge their resolve as they retraced their steps. The path, now a harmonious blend of light and shadow, each balanced against the other. The journey back through the heartwood was seamless, as though the very earth had become an ally, the ancient magic guiding them forward with gentle assurance. As they broke through the forest's edge, the sun hung low on the horizon, painting the sky with hues of amber and rose. The world felt larger now, the boundaries of their understanding expanded by what they had learned. The air was charged with anticipation, the scent of magic lingering like the promise of rain. They returned to the gathering point where their allies awaited, a camp now bustling with the energy of preparation and hope. Lord Arendor was there, conferring with the leaders from the allied realms, his presence a steady beacon amidst the whirlwind of activity. As Taryn approached, Arendor turned, a question in his eyes that needed no words. Taryn answered with a nod, the Crown of Aeloria in his grasp a testament to their journey's success. The serpent's legacy is ours to wield, Taryn declared, his voice resonating with the strength of certainty. Together, we have the means to end the Dominion's threat once and for all. A cheer rose from the gathered throng, an exultant cry that rippled through the camp, binding the hearts of men and women alike with a bond forged in shared sacrifice and triumph. The knowledge that they stood on the brink of a new dawn infused every soul with newfound vigor. The preparations for the final confrontation began in earnest. Strategies were laid out, alliances solidified, and plans drafted with the precision of a master's brushstroke. The Crown of Aeloria would be the linchpin of their efforts, the conduit through which the serpent's legacy would flow to dismantle the Dominion's grip. Yet amidst the fervor, Taryn felt the weight of the serpent's caution, a reminder that even now, vigilance was paramount. The Dominion's power, though wounded, was not yet vanquished, and its remnants harbored their own cunning and resolve. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, Taryn found himself standing on a rise overlooking the camp. The stars emerged, one by one, their light, a map of the heavens, tracing stories older than time. Lyra joined him, her presence a grounding force amidst the swirl of thoughts. "Do you believe we are ready?" she asked, her voice a gentle whisper that carried on the night breeze. Taryn nodded, his gaze unwavering. "We are ready," he replied, conviction threading through his words. "The serpent has shown us the way. In balance, we find strength. In unity, we find victory." The following days passed in a blur of activity, the camp a hive of determination. Warriors honed their skills. Mages practiced their spells, and scouts returned with reports of the Dominion's movements. Each piece of information was woven into the fabric of their strategy, a tapestry that would guide them to the end of the Dominion's reign. At last, the day of reckoning dawned. The sky was a brilliant canvas of blue and gold. The land bathed in the warm light of a sun that seemed to shine with renewed purpose. Taryn stood among his companions, each a vital part of the whole, their bond unbreakable. Arendor addressed the gathered host, his voice a rallying cry that soared over the plains. "Today, we stand at the precipice of history," he proclaimed, his eyes meeting those of each warrior, each mage, each soul ready to fight for the world they cherished. "Together, we will cast off the shadows that have plagued our land. Together, we will shape our destiny." The march to the Dominion's final bastion began, a tide of humanity moving with the inexorable force of a river carving through stone. The path took them through lands both familiar and strange, where the scars of conflict lay side by side with the tender shoots of renewal. As they approached the Dominion's citadel, a fortress of bleak stone and darkened spires, rising from the land like a blight, the weight of destiny settled over them. The air shimmered with tension, the magic of the Crown of Aeloria surging in response to the proximity of their enemy. The battle commenced with the ferocity of a storm unleashed, the clash of steel against steel, a symphony of defiance. The Dominion's forces arrayed against them with grim determination, their resolve undimmed by the setbacks they had suffered. Yet, as the battle raged, Taryn felt the serpent's legacy flow through him, the Crown of Aeloria channeling the power of balance and unity into every strike, every spell. The companions fought as one, their combined might turning the tide of battle, each moment a testament to the truth they had embraced. The citadel shuddered beneath the onslaught, the walls crumbling under the weight of their attack. Within its heart, they confronted the remnants of the Dominion's leadership, figures cloaked in shadow who clung to their power with a tenacity born of desperation. In the final confrontation, Taryn stood at the forefront, rune blade blazing with the light of the crown. The echoes of the heartwood resonated within him, guiding his hand as he faced the dark mages who wielded their sorcery with vicious intent. The clash was epic, a battle of wills that transcended the physical realm. Taryn felt the serpent's presence guiding him, the power of balance unraveling the dark magic that sought to engulf him. With a final, decisive strike, the last of the Dominion's leaders fell, their shadow unmade by the light of a united world. Silence descended over the battlefield, the echoes of conflict fading into memory. The Dominion's citadel crumbled, its foundations unable to withstand the force of unity that had torn through its heart. As the sun set, casting the land in a warm embrace, the companions stood victorious amidst the ruins. Taryn looked to the horizon, where the future awaited, a future built upon the foundations of balance and unity, where the world could heal and flourish. In that moment, he felt the serpent's legacy settle within him, a promise woven into the very fabric of his being. The Crown of Aeloria had shown them the way, and now it was up to them to carry its light forward, into the dawn of a new age. Together, they would walk this path, guardians of a world reborn, their story etched in the echoes of time, a testament to the power of unity and the enduring strength of hope. When dawn's first light touched the land, the world seemed to exhale. The battles that had raged and the shadows that had threatened, now yielding to the tranquility of a new beginning. The ruins of the Dominion's final bastion were now silent, a testament to the trials overcome and the promise of what lay ahead. Taryn stood upon the citadel's highest point, runeblade sheathed, the Crown of Aeloria resting upon his brow. The relic no longer felt like a weight or burden, but a part of his very spirit, as if the echoes of the ancients had woven into his soul. Below, the remnants of the resistance gathered, a sea of faces uplifted by the promise of peace. Their eyes, once burdened with the fatigue of conflict, now shone with the light of hope. Among them, allies from distant lands, warriors and mages, stood shoulder to shoulder, united in the legacy they had forged together. The weave joined Taryn, his presence a calm anchor amidst the sea of change. "The world breathes anew, Taryn," he said, his voice carrying the wisdom of ages. "But the work of peace is not yet done. The scars of the Dominion's rule still linger." Taryn nodded, his resolve as strong as the stones beneath his feet. "We will heal them," he affirmed, the words an oath sealed by the dawn's light. "Together we will mend the wounds inflicted by the shadows." As preparations for the journey home began, Lyra approached, her eyes reflecting the deep green of the heartwood. "The forest sings a song of renewal," she murmured, her voice an echo of the natural world's harmony. "It calls us to honor our bond with the land." The companions understood that their victory was not just the defeat of an enemy, but the beginning of a new relationship with the world itself. A relationship of guardianship and stewardship. To honor this, they would embark on a pilgrimage of reconciliation, visiting the realms touched by the Dominion's shadow. Their journey took them first through the vibrant plains, where the earth was rich and fertile, the fields bursting with the promise of harvest. Here they met with the stewards of the land, their alliance reaffirmed through shared purpose and mutual respect. Together they planted the seeds of peace, a symbol of the future they sought to cultivate. In the whispering plains where the wind carried tales of old, they stood before the ancient stones, offering prayers of gratitude for the guidance bestowed upon them. The echoes responded with a warmth that wrapped around them like a cloak, the voices of the ancients a benediction upon their quest. Their path led them to the Valley of Echoes, where the stones hummed with a song of triumph and remembrance. Here they lit fires of celebration, the flames reaching skyward in a dance of light and shadow. The valley resonated with their joy, the echoes embracing the jubilation of a world reborn. But even as they celebrated, the companions remained vigilant, knowing that the serpent's legacy was one of balance, a delicate dance that required constant attention and care. As they traveled, they encountered those who had been lost in the Dominion's darkness, their minds twisted by the corruption of power. With the aid of the Crown, they worked to heal these souls, guiding them back to the light with patience and compassion, a task demanding both bravery and heart. In the Enclave of the Lost, they convened with the Guardians of Knowledge, a conclave of minds dedicated to preserving the lessons of the past. Here, they shared the wisdom gleaned from their journey, ensuring that future generations would learn from both their triumphs and their mistakes. Each step of their pilgrimage strengthened the threads of unity woven across Altheria, binding its people in a tapestry of hope. The world was not yet whole, but the fractures were mending, the land healing beneath their care. As they returned to Eldenfort, the fortress was a beacon of resilience, its walls standing firm against the backdrop of a world in flux. Here, they were greeted as heroes, their arrival a call to celebration. Arendor, his face lined with the marks of leadership, welcomed them with open arms. You have succeeded beyond measure, he declared, pride and gratitude infusing every word.
You have given us the gift of tomorrow.
The festivities that followed were a riot of color and sound, a joyous cacophony that filled the night with laughter and song. Yet, even in the height of celebration, Taryn felt the serpent's legacy close by, a reminder of the balance that must be maintained. As the fires burned low and the stars wheeled overhead, Taryn found a moment of solitude beneath the open sky. The Crown of Aeloria rested against his chest, a steady pulse in tune with his heartbeat. He was joined by his companions, Lyra, Brahm, and the Weave, each a vital part of the journey they had undertaken. Together, they looked out over the land, the future stretching before them like a vast, uncharted sea. "We will face whatever comes," Lyra promised, her hand resting lightly on Taryn's shoulder. Together. In the quiet of the night, surrounded by the echoes of their shared journey, Taryn knew that their bond would endure, as unbreakable as the crown they had wielded. They had awakened a harmony in the world, a symphony of light and shadow, woven with the threads of balance and hope. The dawn of a new age had begun, and with it, the promise of a legacy that would endure, a legacy not of conquest, but of unity. A song sung through the ages, carried by the winds of destiny.